Namaste, welcome. Abhijit, I just read this news segment. I know we're going to talk about the speech of the Prime Minister, but this has to be discussed. I can't stop my laughter. Chinese ambassador Pai Hong says US imposed tariffs of up to 50% on India. China firmly opposes it. Silence only emboldens the bully. China will firmly stand with India. बस यही दिन रह गया. Can't stop my laughter. ये क्या हो रहा है?
Boss, even at its worst, I will choose America over China, okay? But it's good we're only giving the Americans, because notice that is exactly what Modi did in his speech. He gave the worst. So, Modi not talking about Trump, not mentioning America, Trump, or the tariffs even once was the biggest middle finger he could have given Trump. He basically pretended Trump didn't exist. And nothing hurts Trump more than his. See, he doesn't mind if you abuse him. He's happy because he knows he's got your mind space. But
Yeah, that
don't talk about him. Nothing offends Trump than being ignored. Offends Trump more than being ignored.
yeah, basically it's the classic thing, right? A bully doesn't like a silent treatment. A bully likes engagement.
Yes.
So now the now I don't care about the prime minister's political speeches when he's on election campaign or anything, but address to the nation is very important. Needs to be studied. Needs to be decoded. My personal view, this was his second best address to the nation since the first he ever made as a prime minister
Exactly. Yeah.
in 2014. I think this was his second best address to the nation. He was rejuvenated. It was his longest ever address to the nation. I think it ran up to an hour and 10 minutes or something. So overall, he covered so many. He made the announcement on GST. I think GST का the 2 rate announcement अभी हो गया है. He made semiconductors के ऊपर announcement. He made jet engines के ऊपर announcement. He made comprehensive resource reforms के ऊपर announcement. I want to focus on the defense bit. But first, what did you make of the speech overall as an address to the nation? Do you think he was pissed off?
He was both pissed off and he had a certain reality check about him. He wasn't talking about aspirational stuff. He was talking about doing stuff. Did you notice that? His very first speech and several speeches after that were aspirational. This was all about tangibles. And it focused very heavily on Aatmanirbhar. Okay, because of the tariffs and what Trump is doing. So what ended up happening was he announced jet engines, yes. He announced a whole bunch of things that had to happen. The issue with jet engines, of course, is if you put it under a person like Rajiv Gauba, it isn't going to happen. Right? You've tried to industrialize for the last 10 years with the IAS. You've not succeeded. Why do you think Rajiv Gauba, who couldn't achieve it when he was cabinet secretary, is suddenly going to achieve it when he's not cabinet secretary?
Can I maybe okay? How about this? India tends to do most of its reforms when India is under the pump. Most of our reforms happened the first time ever was because हमारा सोना गिरवी रख दिया था हम लोग ने. Narasimha Rao had to do it. We had no option. Second time we pushed for major reforms is during the nuclear deal. We had to do something. And even if you remember, Vajpayee government also under pressure had to do some reforms. Every time we've done major reforms in the history of India as far as economics or any kind is concerned is when we have been under tremendous pressure, some kind of geopolitical pressure where the political class has used it as an excuse to placate the bureaucracy. So why not apply that logic this time?
Because this time the sanctions are multilateral. It's a single country sanction with limited impact. Remember in 1998, it was many countries that sanctioned us. All right. So it is nowhere near as dire as the situation in India of 2025 is not the India of that time. Remember, in those days, in the first round of sanctions under Rao, we had to pledge our gold and things like that, boss. Right? We shipped 20 tons of our gold abroad. We also remember in 1998-99, we weren't that strong economically. Today, our reserves are about $600 billion. वो time gaya. So see, pressure is relative. Many countries sanctioning you, and financial bankruptcy or financial vulnerability, as opposed to now where you're neither financially vulnerable nor are you, a pushover. So relatively, it doesn't hurt much.
Okay, I understand you're saying that, but in 1998, in terms of trade, we were not that dependent on America. In 2025, we have much more trade on with
Yes,
America too, right?
we have a $75 billion deficit with China, and we have a $46 billion surplus with America, right? So it is a question of surplus. But also understand there is leverage we have. There is no leverage we have on China, because with China, the trade is extractive. We sell them raw materials, they process and sell us back finished goods. And those cheap goods, our economy depends on those cheap goods. Not everybody can buy iPhone assembled in India. They all buy cheap, what me, she, Fee, phones or whatever they are from, sorry, Redmi, uh, fuck me. These are all phones from China, no? So they've got phones like this, which are like 6,000-7,000 rupees, maybe 12,000-13,000 rupees. They use these phones. So much of your economy, the taxi drivers, the UPI payments, they all depend on those phones. कल अगर तुम्हारे को अमेरिकन स्वीट कॉर्न नहीं मिलेगा, tell me who gets affected. It's actually very good for diabetics not to eat American sweet corn. Okay, you then say apply import duties on aircraft, on Boeing. ठीक है, बोइंग में क्या होगा कि ये क्या लाए हो हैं? ओके, who does it preference? Airbus. So Akasa, Air India cancel their orders for Boeing once they know there's going to be a tariff on Boeing aircraft. And Tata is the single biggest buyer of aircraft in the world at the moment. If you apply a 50% tariff on Boeing aircraft, suddenly Airbus becomes much more competitive, right? What happens to them then? What happens tomorrow if you say H1B, if you don't return to India in a month, we'll cancel your passports and declare you stateless?
मगर हम ये
What if
क्यों
we can
करेंगे?
do
That's
that?
an extreme step.
So we have several levers. We have several levers, right? It is not that we are without levers. Remember, in 98, we had limited levers. In 91, we had no levers. Our trade was minuscule. We were an overwhelmingly agrarian country. But I think what Modi has realized this time is the longer you postpone reforms, the longer your relative weakness vis-a-vis America. And therefore, he's now pushing for the industrialization that we've been asking for since day one. The problem is, if your best answer for industrialization was Rajiv Gauba, then alas.
Okay, but okay, what are the, forget the thing. At a fundamental level, is there anything that stops us from having a jet engine? Like, why? Like, is it an intellectual issue? It is a resource issue? What is it?
So, crystals are very, very complex. Okay. Um, Technically, I want all our viewers to go check YouTube, how to grow salt crystals at home, carbide crystals at home. You can actually grow them at home. The issue is growing them in that exact precise manner to become a fan blade of an engine. Now remember, metals expand and contract. Metals suffer from severe metal fatigue. Metal fatigue was not known, which is why the one of the very first all metal pressurized civilian airliners, I think it was a Comet. I think it was the Comet, Havilland Comet, I think. Uh, Three of them crashed in succession. Nobody knew why. They then tested the pressurized thing in a water chamber, and they discovered something called metal fatigue. Metals expand and contract. This is one of the things you learn in science, that all metals expand under heat and contract under cool. All substances. There are few alloys. For example, Invar is an alloy the Russians use for some of their aircraft parts, which actually contracts under heat. Okay. But as a general rule, the crystal manufacturing is extremely complicated. It is extreme precision, and it is a technology that the West entirely monopolizes. There are 4 Western companies that know how to work these crystals: Snecma, the French company, Rolls-Royce, the British company, General Electric, the American company, and Pratt & Whitney, which is also an American company. Okay, these 4 companies know exactly. It is a Western trade monopoly. Eastern companies have tried. They have tried very hard. The Chinese have thrown billions of dollars at the problem. See, they have no issues with espionage. They have no moral or ethical issues with espionage. They don't have any shortage of money. They've thrown billions of dollars. They, in fact, sacked all the useless engineers who were working on metal engines, sacked them, consolidated it. They consolidated it 10, 12 years back. They are still not able to produce a proper crystal engine. Because, like all manufacturing, it has 2 components: the how and the why. The how you can get somewhat through industrial espionage. The why is impossible to get through espionage. Okay. Now, given this is a monopoly, you will understand why neither the Americans, the French, nor the British want to share that technology with you. Their condition for sharing that technology is much closer political alignment. So, for example, Italy has been given that technology. Japan has been given that technology. But Japan is a treaty ally of America. Italy is a NATO member. And they're very clear: we'll give it to you if you're part of a military alliance, military political alliance, or else you can't get it. Full stop. They're very clear about it. The Russians don't have the technology. That said, Russian metal technology is way superior to Chinese technology. A Chinese metal engine will last something like 80, 90 hours. A Russian engine, 200 plus hours. Guess how much an American, British, or French engine would last approximately? Guess?
I have no clue, yaar. मेरे ये field के बारे में, I don't know these things.
Just wild guess.
I don't know, a few million?
No.
I don't know.
2,000 hours. Where is 80 hours? Where is 2,000 hours? Right.
This is like, I look at it as a battery pack kind of a thing. Like one battery pack has X capacity and the other battery pack has Y capacity. Well, which one should you use? That kind of a thing?
No. It's not battery pack capacity. It's battery pack efficiency. It's just going to last you much longer.
Yeah, I was just using the analogy of a battery pack, right? Like,
Okay, fair. So it's that simple, but wear and tear is what we're talking about. Remember, if you do not keep changing the engine every 80 hours, it is going to crack. You're going to have fatal crashes. The entire equipment will be write-off. The entire aircraft will be a write-off. Russian engines don't have bleed problems. Chinese engines have bleed problems. They're also notorious gas guzzlers.
What does a bleed problem mean?
No, okay. The air doesn't flow through properly. It's not terribly efficient. Okay, so you're not getting the full out of the rotation and compression and ignition of the gas
Okay.
of the and the air. So
It's about the
basically, what?
efficiency,
Yeah,
yield.
it's about, yeah, yeah, pretty much. Um, so what ends up happening is, you know, this is literally it's voodoo. It's as far as we're concerned, it's voodoo. And for voodoo, you need to get a lot of know-how. There's the production processes. It's the strength of the crystal. See, you can produce a crystal. Will it be strong enough? Will it last long enough? It's not like the Chinese don't have advanced. The Chinese have very advanced industrial capacity. Their industrial capacity is far more advanced than Russia. Yet Russia, even to this day, produces better weapons than China. Why? There are certain things which you can't espionage your way out of. Now, there are also not reverse engineerable. We know exactly, for example, how a commercial GE engine works. Chinese aircraft have a lot of GE engines. I'm sure some of them have been taken apart and studied. And the Chinese are still not able to figure out how to make these crystals and things like that.
Hmm.
And the Americans are not willing to transfer it to you. Neither are the British, neither are the French.
So,
See,
Sandeep had.
The British were, by the way, Rolls-Royce had approached us and they said, look, we want a 15-year monopoly on all your jet engines for the Air Force because it doesn't make it worth our while to transfer 200 engines. You give us, we will train the next generation of engineers. Rolls-Royce India will be a fully Indian company. We will, and the next iteration of those engines will be made in India. You'll have to structure your air force around those engines. So make modifications or whatever your future plans are, it'll be around that engine. और हम तुम्हारे लिए naval engine भी बनाएंगे because the engine core is the same. Okay, so the MT-30 is based on a civilian Trent 800 core, which is a much bigger diameter engine. They did. Guess what the Air Force did? Sorry, Boros, not interested. And today we're buying two engines, Snecma from France and GE from America. We're claiming technology transfer. There is no technology transfer.
In fact, मैं इसी पे I wanted to ask you a question because शिव ने ये retweet किया था संदीप का ये Sandeep had mentioned in 2023, a MOD bureaucrat in South Block over a decade ago had told me, quote, we will never buy American fighter jets, helicopters, transport planes, yes, but fighters never. Why not? Because they will never let you fight the wars you want to. And then he quote tweeted this on August 20th this year. That bureaucrat was right, and in hindsight, a critical mistake to go in for GE engines for indigenous jets and warships. I used to think Bharat Karnad was being unreasonable in opposing US arms sales because they would never be sanction proofed. But here we are now. What do you make of this in light? And then following it up with the announcement that I heard on the news. Now I don't know kya hai, sach kya nahi hai, but the Indian government has cleared a 62,000 crore deal for 97 Tejas Mk1A fighters.
Equipped with American engines. See,
That's
here's
why I
the thing.
wanted to read the whole thing for you.
Yeah. There is no such thing as a kill switch. They can't turn your plane off. What they can do is they can deprive you of upgrades. They can deprive you of support. They have all these clauses where you can use it for defensive purposes, not for offensive purposes. You can't use cluster bombs in civilian areas. You need very serious. By the way, they're all overcomable. But you need very serious academic and lobbying skills to be able to do that, the way Israel does. Do you have that lobbying power in America? No. You just don't. So what are you going to do? See, this is
I'm
why.
genuinely trying to think, like, because you've asked me this question. I'm trying to think how and why does a person. But then, okay, then why were we able to so successfully, counter the Chinese and American combination of Pakistan in Op Sindoor then?
First, they've mostly got old American equipment. Their air defenses are crap. You look at their air defense lineup, the Pakistani air defenses are virtually non existent. Their fighters are good, but the fighters were kept in readiness to combat the ground assault, which was overwhelming, as the air to ground assault, I meant, not land attack. Uh, they are much more reliant on Chinese equipment, which is absolute crap. Uh, they must have decided not to cross the border, probably because they knew our air defenses were very good. There's a whole number of things out there. We don't know what their prognosis was. We don't know how they planned. They were expecting us, um, but we don't know what their thinking was. As of now, we don't know. Till somebody writes a book about it at some point.
And that's not going to happen for at least 10 to 15 years, because such are the service rules in India that किसी को कुछ बोलने ही नहीं दिया जाता है.
Pakistan. I want to know what they were thinking. They could have used the F-16s very effectively, JF-17s as well. I mostly think because we flooded them with those air to surface missiles, they were constantly playing defense. We put them on the defensive. See, weapons matter, but how you use those weapons also matters.
So this is more strategy than quality of weaponry.
Yeah.
And this is fully realizing our Navy was not allowed to participate.
The Navy is the biggest advantage you have, and they were not allowed to participate.
Well, the Prime Minister did mention that he told the naval chiefs that, I'm
Well,
sorry,
she
you'll get
reported
your
that
chance next time.
हमने तुम्हारे मुंह से रसगुल्ला छीन लिया, अगली बार हम तुमको रसगुल्ला खाने देंगे. Something like that, he said.
Yes, so
But
the Prime Minister did say that.
But the problem out here is we have not come up against a quality match yet. We'll see. We'll see.
Then what about this push on Atmanirbharta? And so let's say the Prime Minister has said this. There's clearly, look, there is movement happening. You know it, I know it. The government is serious. So I'm not gonna freaking just be a negative Nancy for the heck of it. Both of us know it for a fact that this time the Prime Minister is dead serious, and he, that meeting of the Economic Reform Council was not a joke. It was a very serious thing. But then usme bhi they are taking 1 year. Like एक साल दिया है भाई comprehensive reform suggest करने को, एक साल.
Do you remember the reforms Gautam Chikarmani presented?
Yes.
That was done 3 years back.
Yes.
Has it been activated?
Some of it is, Gautam told me.
90%
No, Gautam
of
से मेरी बात हुई. Some of it
90%
is.
of it has not. अब क्या करोगे? See, I have seen lots of serious meetings, Kushal. I was still very aware when, in 1991, we had to go through that crap. 1998, we went through that crap. I have seen lots of these serious meetings. I don't take meetings seriously unless it yields results. And I'm
No,
sorry, but if Rajiv Gauba is the best you can find, best of luck to you.
well,
As a
I think you should not nail it down to one person. I think
no,
I
it is
would not
very
even.
much personal. It is very much personal. You wouldn't talk like that if you knew how the bureaucracy operates. Everything depends on that one person. It's very simple out here. If a person couldn't perform while in service, they are not going to be able to perform outside of service. It's that simple.
Yeah, but I don't know, yeah. I mean, just say on the GST rationalization, I'm hearing good things that are coming over there. It's actually very good what they're trying to do. It's not going to be ideal, or never. Something is never ideal. They don't get all the right things.
Look, the ideal model already exists. It's called the Australian GST model.
Yeah.
Okay, there are two ideal models that Australia is good for. One is healthcare. It's much better than the American system, which is that you get comprehensive healthcare. The government acts as a wholesaler. So the
Hmm.
government gets massive wholesaler discounts, and you just go provide your healthcare card, which is much better than the much less wasteful than the American system. The second is GST. What do they say about GST? GST, there is only one slab, 10%. In India, it can be higher, no problem, 15% pe rakh lo. Everything that is sold open or transported and sold open, vegetables, rice, बोरी से चावल बेचोगे, no GST for all agricultural goods. The moment you package it and brand it, it gets GST. Understand the entire Indian market distortion happens because of overcomplicated rules and the confusion surrounding those rules. That is where the Babus earn their rent keeping.
Hmm.
That model has always been available to you. You want to have a two-tier system, it's very simple. Everything with a package and brand on it and or will be at 18%. Everything
Hmm.
that is non-agricultural without package and brand will be say 12%. Everything that is agricultural sold in the open without packaging will be 0%.
No, we are going into a two-rate regime. I think it's going to be 5 and 18%. We are going in
जो
a two-rate regime.
जो भी है, mark my words, when it comes out, it will be unnecessarily complicated wording. अरे बाबू को पैसा बनाना है यार. The lower bureaucracy has to do hafta vasuli, no? To our
Hmm.
friend Yusuf, they've levied some luxury thing on his cheapest product, which was a plastic tap for the bathroom. It was charged GST at a luxury rate. Why? Because it was gold in color and it was deemed to be luxury. And for him to challenge it, he had to go to the tribunal in Manipal, not once but several times.
Hmm.
Waste money, get a hotel room, pay for the petrol to go all the way from Bangalore to Manipal and address it out there. Consequences for the fellow designating a 200 rupee tap, plastic tap with gold leaf on top, which comes off after like 5-10 washes, zero consequences. See, understand, people don't get this. Why did slavery end, Kushal? Slavery did not end because of the goodness of the white man. You have all this, these, what this fellow Kissin and all these people coming on, wo kaun hai? The Ben Shapiro, Kissin, all these guys coming and saying, oh, Britain was so good. We were such a moral empire. We paid off the slave owners and we ended slavery. They ended slavery because they industrialized first. Agricultural labor can be whipped into picking cotton. Industrial labor, you cannot whip them into doing quality. Understand that. In quality industrial production requires incentivized labor. It requires pampered labor. And Britain ended slavery because it had a competitive advantage in manufacturing and it wanted to deprive others of their agricultural economies, just the same way nuclear weapon countries want to deprive others of their nuclear weapons. This is why technology controlled regimes exist. Britain did not end the slave trade forcibly because of any goodness of its heart. It ended it because it no longer needed slavery. Its competitive advantage depended on an end to slavery. And widening that competitive advantage vis-a-vis its rivals required you to stop the other country's slavery to maximize the differential. It was not done out of the goodness of anybody's heart. Second, they will, the true colonization. We're not talking about the Spanish colonization of the Americas, because that was just rapine. That was a gold rush. True colonization began after the industrial age. Before that, they were very happy to trade around the borders of Africa, where Africans used to do 90% of the slave trading, the slave capturing and things, and just sell to the Portuguese, the British, and the French on the coast. But industry requires minerals. That is when they started colonizing Africa. And how was it dressed up to say, oh, you people, it is the white man's burden. You are horrible people. You are enslaving each other. It is our Christian good nature that we are coming to set you free. This is why Northern America waged war on Southern America. Southern America was agricultural. Northern America was industrial. The North did not need slaves. In fact, the North's quality depended on not having slaves. Slavery ends because of industrialization. So this is done out of sheer competitive advantage. So your economy depends on investing in human beings. It is not simply a case of tech transfer. Your regulatory mechanisms have to be good. Your schools have to be good. You've seen all those surveys. 97% of Indian engineers cannot problem solve. So your manpower, human investment is zero. So the quality of your manpower is so pathetic. Your labor laws prevent you from hire and fire, and therefore you can't even impose. Basically, labor in this country is like an IAS officer. An IAS officer screws up, you can't sack him. A laborer puts a wrong nut and bolt and the car crashes, the manufacturer will go to jail. The actual guy will not go to jail. The guy who actually screwed up the assembly will never go to jail. You can't even sack the guy. You have to declare lockout. There's a whole very complex procedure for firing people. So see, industrialization requires a lot of reforms across the board. Are you willing to reform your lending and regulatory practices? No, you're not. Are you willing to change your labor laws? No, you're not. Are you willing to invest more in primary education and things like that, or at least deregulate the education market? Nah. Why is it that every politician owns a school or sits on a school board? Why is it in a country where every mother wants the one thing every parent wants? गाड़ी नहीं होगा, maybe खाना भी नहीं होगा, but the one thing they will ensure is मेरा बच्चा अच्छा सा पढ़ना चाहिए. There is no shortage of demand for good education. Why is there such a short supply of good education? Because it is a controlled and distorted market, controlled by politicians. Are you going to fix that? No. So I'm sorry, Kushal. I've heard these speeches before. I'm not taking it very seriously.
See, I'll push back on the GST bit because Yusuf is not the only person who's done a business in his life. मैंने भी किया है साले. So, are there problems? Yes. I'll tell you where. ये luxury goods का actually
तू तो बिजनेस बंद करके भाग गया था ना साले.
गांडू में भागा, मगर मैंने जब किया है कभी तूने मेरी
भगोड़ा,
तरफ से
भगोड़ा,
इनफैक्ट मेरे
भगोड़ा.
एक तो तू
Yeah.
भेलपुड़ी
Please
खा
take advice from Yusuf, who actually runs a business. Take an advice from Bagoda, who shut down shop and ran away from business, about how great the GST regime is. हाँ, बता.
GST was a far better regime than the VAT regime.
Hmm.
And I say this at a personal level, that was a gigantic improvement. GST में refund के बहुत सारे issues solve हो गए. इनफैक्ट cost के ऊपर overall impact GST में अच्छा हुआ. That was a good. Now ये जो उसने luxury का बोला है ना, this is a genuine problem and that's where I support you. अभी मैं भी तेरे को ये बताता हूँ, ये this stems from our socialist baggage because SUV पे 40% GST लगाना चाहते हैं, बाकी पे 18% GST लगाना चाहते हैं. Why? Because we hate wealth creation in this country. It's a hatred of wealth creation mindset. इसीलिए उसने उसके पाइप के कपलिंग के ऊपर गोल्ड का वो कलर चढ़ा दिया. ये तो बहुत महंगा होगा, ये चीटिंग कर रहा है, ये अमीर है, अमीर को टैक्स लगाओ. That stems from that. And this mindset will take time, but overall I believe that if the government will reduce the overall regime to a 2 tax structure, believe me mere bhai, it will lead to a gigantic ease hogi.
Even with a 2 tax structure, you have to come up with wording that is unambiguous. The Babu makes his money from ambiguity. Mark my words, the document when it comes out will be so ambiguous. At least the next 20 generations of UPSC pass single exam wonders, their children will be able to go to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, University. Easy.
वो ठीक है, आई एग्री, आई थिंक दैट इज देयर. मगर कुछ लोगों ने जो क्रिटिसिज्म किया था कि रिफंड्स में इशू होते हैं, देख भाई, रिफंड का भी रैशनलाइजेशन पहले से मच बेटर हो गया है. The only criticism is that the speed at which these things should happen don't happen, but I don't believe that things have not improved. That's just factually incorrect. That's just factually incorrect.
Did I say they've not improved? They've improved. 100% improved. My thing isn't improvement. My thing is, if you're doing something, do it once and do it right. When you have
why do you think Indians don't do that? इतना छोटा छोटा क्यों करते हैं?
Why jugaad thing? I don't want to actually see that tap is leaking. I don't want to fix that tap. First, let me take my chewing gum. Let me put it there. Then that doesn't work. Okay, call the 200 rupees per hour workman and let him put putty out there. That doesn't work. Let me get the cement guy and let me put cement out there. That doesn't work. Finally, when the tap gives way and the pipe itself breaks, then you will call the Jaguar showroom and get a new tap and get a new plumber. And then by that time, you would already wasted a lot of money and time. And not to mention water.
One bit in his speech, which was very interesting, was his hint at social media platforms. What is the government thinking? कि government धमकी दे रही है सिर्फ?
No, what did he say again?
पता नहीं, if you noticed or not, he clearly said कि हमको अभी हमारे निजी प्लेटफॉर्म्स बनाने पड़ेंगे, डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म्स और ये सब. हम बाहर पर रिलाई नहीं कर सकते. Do you think that was a धमकी or was he being serious about it? Because that's a big thing.
I want to emphasize this isn't new. Remember the moment the Ukraine war started, after what the West did to Russian assets abroad and SWIFT and things like that, the government doubled down on UPI. The government was very, very clear We are going to develop our own international funds transfer system. We're going to develop our own version of Android, an OS for India by India. Rajiv Chandrasekhar was working on it. I don't know where the progress is right now, but Rajiv was really pushing that big time. They want an indigenous app ecosystem. Because the vulnerability now is tomorrow, what if Android says, imagine tomorrow if America says iOS and Android can't function in Russia. It won't function in Russia. Right now, you still get iOS and Android upgrades in Russia. What if they cut it off? What if they cut off functionality?
So basically, we have to go the Chinese way. That's the inevitability of this all.
Pretty much. Not so far.
American big tech will collapse. They just rely on us. We are the market then.
They rely on us for bulk. The Indian market is very low disposable income
today.
So for example, Ravish Kumar level following would get you, say, 1 rupee equivalent. The same number of followers and viewership in America would get you 20-30 times the revenue.
I repeat, today, 10 years down the line, more Indians will be on the internet. Much more richer Indians will be on the internet.
Understand, it is all relative. Your per capita income goes up, their per capita income also goes up. It will still be more. Okay. That said, why is Amazon maintaining a presence in India despite year-on-year losses?
Yeah.
Because we are the ones who buy in bulk and make that bulk equipment cheaper for the American market. So the same product sold in the Indian market will be sold for 100 rupees. In the American market, it will be sold for 1,000 rupees. But it is because of us buying at 100 rupees that they're able to generate the bulk orders where it costs them 50 rupees. Otherwise, it would cost them 150 rupees. They're still going to make a profit, but that profit margin comes down very substantially. Right? YouTube, again, it gets most of its bulk from India. Fine, very low quality programming, this and that and all that bullshit. That's a different matter. Sometimes they're very good quality, but very frequently, the camera angles are off, dirty places. Yesterday, I was watching one cooking channel where there were flies constantly buzzing over the cucumber and the tomato. She made a salad and then she ate it. And I was like, ew, like double ew. But, it's fine.
Fly ka bhi taste acha hota hai salad.
You realize that fly has probably sat on some poop outside your house, in that gully behind your house. And then it's coming, you're literally licking somebody's poop off your cucumber.
उससे immunity बढ़ती है.
उससे hepatitis आता है.
अच्छा सुन, ये और 3 एस्पेक्ट्स थे पीएम की स्पीच के. एक वो जो सेमीकंडक्टर का उन्होंने बोला. दैट्स उन्होंने बोला एंड ऑफ द ईयर. तो कुछ होगा तो ही बोला ना.
Semiconductor is already happening. I think Vrinda's company is one of those companies that's gotten the tech transfer for it. They're already down a very advanced path in terms of indigenizing those semiconductors. So the question is, will we be able to innovate the next generation of semiconductors ourselves?
वो तो ठीक है, one step at a time.
One step at a time. But yes, semiconductors happening. The technology has already been transferred. The initial labs and production facilities already been set up.
Now, this actually skipped the entire media discussion, which is very shocking for me. The Prime Minister says that by 2047, I think approximately 10 to 15% of our power will be nuclear.
No, he said we will double our nuclear power. No, we will tenfold our nuclear power is what he said, bro. By
He
47,
said work is underway on 10 new nuclear reactors as part of India's mission to increase nuclear power generation capacity by over 10 times in the next 2 decades.
10 times. Yeah.
Hmm.
10x.
Now that is huge, boss.
That is huge. That is also Atmanirbhar. And this is something I have faith in.
Boss, this will fundamentally change the game. Our
So,
oil dependence is gone a
so
major
for the
way.
last 15 years, I have been highly critical of our AEC, because every year they were saying Hamara domestic reactor online hoga, and every year it would become next year, next year, next year, next year. They delivered, thankfully. After 15 years, they proved me wrong. They've delivered. If it's working well, fantastic. Nuclear is the way to go. I have been the biggest proponent of nuclear because, boss, you need maybe 10,000 ships worth of coal to generate the kind of power that maybe one ship worth of uranium can generate. Uranium and all nuclear reactors, they have the most energy dense, uh, they have the highest energy density to produce power. And when you think through your reactors very carefully, it is the cheapest, it is one of the safest. I don't care what anybody says, nuclear is extremely safe. Unless, like, you're an idiot in Chernobyl and experimenting with reactors, which you should not be doing. Uh, physically removing the fail-safe mechanisms, which you should not be doing. Or like in Fukushima, where you were outright human negligence. People don't want to talk about another reactor about some 20-40 kilometers away, which was the exact opposite of Fukushima. When that tsunami came, people went into the nuclear reactor premises for protection against the tsunami. Right? Nuclear power is cheap, it is effective, it is efficient, it is highly energy dense. It adds, and you've got your own mines in Mali or Shad Mali. We've got our own mines in Mali, uranium mines. Okay, fantastic. This is the way to go. And clearly, if he's made that announcement, it means that he's very, he's very, he's confident about the performance and the output of the domestic reactor. That's a very good sign.
Yeah. Now,
mind you, if this jet engine path is given to the private sector, I guarantee you that and they are not given no bloody restrictions on them. They are told, bhai tu jaise chahiye consortium bana le, hook or crook, you get a goddamn crystal blade engine, one civilian variant, one military variant ready. It can't survive entirely on a military variant, by the way. Military variant you'll buy about 600 to 1,000, whereas the commercial market is tens of thousands. You need that commercial market, okay? You tell them, I don't care how you do it, but get it in a way where it is completely sanctions proof for us. I bet you, I will challenge every viewer, if it is given to the private sector completely with no single bloody babu touching it with a barge pole except buying it, it will get you a domestic engine within 5 years. A fully domestic.
The last bit before we wrap up. See, again, these things matter. Once again, I repeat, if it's an election speech, I don't take anything the Prime Minister says seriously. There is a BJP guy. When he says it on 15th August, you have to take it seriously. High-powered demography mission. That's the first time he's ever mentioned this. In his entire history of speeches as a chief minister, to addressing Gujaratis in Gujarat, or as a prime minister addressing Indians. What has fundamentally changed here?
I think he's taking it very seriously now. I think the SIR where you found 65 lakh fake votes, not fake votes, obsolete votes, because in many cases they'd moved out of the state. uh, I think his eyes open to the thing. And look at what the Congress is doing. First, they opposed the CA NRC. Then they opposed making the Aadhaar card the common card for everything. See, technically, the Aadhaar, why do you need 10 different cards here? Your Aadhaar card should be your driver's license, it should be your PAN card, it should be everything. Why do you need 10 different cards?
Yeah, honestly, that this attack on ECI, the Election Commission of India, is, you know, as much as people think, ye sacha deshdroh hai. I don't
Yes,
know what like Rahul Gandhi thinks. Like this
it
attempt
is.
to undermine every single thing about our democracy, the democracy, is just insane. Like I am someone who's literally run election drives in Mumbai North Central, so I know what the
So,
hell I'm talking about.
so this is something he very clearly needs to do. We've discussed this in detail. Remember, we were discussing districts of Murshidabad and places like that. We did
Yeah,
that whole graphic.
yeah.
14 districts after partition, the demography has changed. They've gone from 45% Muslim to 56% Muslim, 63% Muslim.
Shamika Ravi had done a detailed report on it also.
She did. So it is it's very complex. Now remember, the government is saying Aadhaar cannot be your sole ID. Why? Because the process is so polluted. You have not allowed the NRCCA to happen. You have not allowed scrutiny to happen. Then how can the Aadhaar be the thing? So see, the Aadhaar should become, but there is a whole process of scrutiny, removing all the muck from it that needs to then precede it. They're moving in that direction, and that is why you need the demographic thing. Ab tak census nahi hua hai, boss. You've been running for 4 years now without a goddamn census. 2021 में census होना था ना.
Hmm.
You're still going off 2011 data for your census.
Hmm.
2011 में हम कहाँ थे, अभी 2025 में हम कहाँ हैं?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah, चल मैं तेरे को 2-4 क्वेश्चंस पूछता हूँ because I have to catch a flight also. So let me select it. तू नहीं देखेगा, तू चुप रहे. यार ये तेरे पीछे ही लोग पड़ गए हैं यार. तू ये S400 का तेरा और S400 का प्रेम. When IAF is concerned, like भाई मैं I actually back you on this. When we will see the evidence, you change my mind also. मेरा stand है.
See, boss, I
I will
can't
back
help
you
you
on this.
what I can't help what you believe. Okay. But that is not how militaries carry out battle damage assessment. For battle damage assessment, you need imagery. On Balakot, we were called into Air Force headquarters and we were shown the classified imagery. It's what you saw in public, but it was much higher res. You could actually see the kind of damage that had been done under those 2-3 different chota holes. This time, you had very clear battle damage imagery of all the ground targets we struck. Why is there no imagery of the air-to-air targets we struck? The Air Force was telling us where to train our satellites when they hit certain things, and we trained our satellites there. Why did they not tell us the general area in which the hits had happened so that we could have trained it on the debris? It's very easy to pick up aircraft debris, by the way. The burn marks are usually all over. There are huge telltale signs of aircraft. Aircraft crashes are some of the easiest things to pick up on satellite. We were never given the coordinates.
Yeah, and for the record, I don't buy any planes were down, neither Indian nor Pakistani, until I
No,
don't
no,
see
no,
any
no,
evidence.
no, no. So we have been able to extrapolate about 4 planes destroyed, not by missile strikes, not by air to air, but by air to ground. And there is a reason for it. We saw 3 ex-Jordanian F-16s go into that hangar in Jacobabad. We have continuous imagery since then. They have not come out since then. There is a very high probability to believe that those 3 ex-Jordanian F-16s have been destroyed. We can't confirm it, but it is an extremely high probability. In Bholari, the issue is we did not have 24/7 coverage because it was not a priority airbase. Our priority airbase were at least what we were able to afford. We were focused on Chaklala, Sargodha, Jacobabad, and basically Islamabad, Chaklala, the same thing, airbase, Noor Khan. So we were very focused on those. Bhulari, we were not paying attention to. We have previous images showing yes, that was a bunker for an AVAX. High probability again that we did indeed get an AVAX plus something else out there.
तूने मेरे को मिसअंडरस्टैंड किया. मैंने ये नहीं बोला कि उनके हैंगर में प्लेन्स थे और हमने वो उड़ाए, और वो मैं नहीं बिलीव करता. वो मैं बिलीव करता हूँ. वो हवा में उड़ रहे थे और हम लोग ने, उन्होंने हमारे और हमने उनके उड़ाए. वो किधर नहीं.
The problem is I don't have proof. I don't have proof. I'm sorry, I don't believe anybody till I see proof. Full stop. It is my job not to believe till I see proof. You know from the speed of the intercept of the ballistic missile over Sirsa that it was not an S-400. Look at the speed at which it goes up. Look at the speed at which the Akash is going up. We didn't know it was an Akash till the Air Force told us, by the way. But we knew it wasn't an S-400. The rest of it is to this thing. So right now, we have absolutely no provable S-400 kills. And we've seen the pathetic performance of the S-300 and S-400 in Russia, Ukraine, and what's the other one? Iran. The absolute impunity. क्या कर रहे हो? मैं टीवी पे हूँ यार. चलो नाचो. चलो सिंगर. गाना बजा के नाचो. नहीं गाना नहीं बजाओगे. इसको जाना है. चलो.
अबे ये तू इसको नचा रहा है साले मेरी पॉडकास्ट पे. ओए सिलेंडर. ये सत्यानाश.
हाँ देखो इसके अभी थैंक्स टू ऑल ऑफ यू ही गॉट 100 फॉलोअर्स. अब जाके इसका YouTube चैनल फॉलो करो और और फॉलोअर्स आएंगे. ठीक है. हाँ तुम्हारा YouTube चैनल का नाम क्या है? तेरे मेरे लम्हे. दैट इज हिज YouTube चैनल. ही डज ऑल हिज. हाँ फॉलो करो उसको. ठीक है. गुड इनकम स्ट्रीम. नहीं पानी इधर ही रहेगा.
India was just should we go after Trump's businesses in India post 2028?
Right. So, and we know, boss, we know the Russians aren't sharing the source codes for you to integrate it with the Akash and the this thing. We're integrating it through other means which are much more complicated and they're not very sophisticated. It is not going to work. We know this. This is the same reason I oppose the F-35 coming. The F-35 is very good. Angad has a point when he says that the differential it brings is probably worth it. I personally feel that it is probably not worth it. That is my cost calculus.
Okay. So, do you think we should go after Trump's businesses after 2028? तो Indians भी मत है. Trump Tower को मैं बनाऊंगा. कुछ और.
I wanted to go after Trump Tower. The issue with Trump Tower is it's a franchise. He's already been paid his money. It's an Indian builder. Trump has already been paid his money to use his name.
उसका नाम चेंज करो.
नहीं फिर इसका पैसा बर्बाद हो जाएगा ना बिल्डर का. वो ब्रांड के लिए उसने पेमेंट दिया है.
How has Japan developed a jet engine but their space program isn't as great as ISRO? It is just a funding problem that private companies are more immune to than PSUs.
Because Japan had that technology transferred to it. Okay. This is again the thing I was talking about, the commercial military crossover. Any commercial program needs to have a military crossover and a military program needs to have a commercial crossover. Why? Because that is where the full bulk and economies of scale start coming in. You can do certain things with military. So for example, have you noticed on a road vehicle, the front has to be covered. The approach angle can't be more than say 25-30 degrees or something like that. Whereas for a military vehicle, the entire front wheel can be open. Because it can hit a क्या कहते हैं, a mountain, and the wheels will start operating right there and you can slowly start climbing the mountain. In a civilian thing, the pedestrian safety is paramount, which is why the front of the Jeep wheels will always be covered, because that is one of the highest fatality areas when you hit a pedestrian. Now, this is a very simple example, but military and commercial are conjoined. What is Japan's problem? They do not have a ballistic missile program. Okay, that is why their rockets are very good, by the way, but they're very expensive. They're very expensive. Why? See, Japanese cars are very cheap, but why does every Japanese tank, every Japanese ship cost so much? Why does every Japanese rocket cost so much? Because they're not allowed to export their military products. They're finally exporting first military sale ever to Australia, the Mogami class frigate. And their rocket program, they don't have a ballistic missile program. You see, that is where the crossover effect comes in. That is why the Japanese, who make such fantastic cheap cars, quality cheap cars, by the way, it's not sasta crap, it is good quality, but they're not able to do that in the military. That is why the Japanese are not able to have a program as good as ISRO, and the jet engine they're able to, because they imported it from it. It is full scale tech transfer from America.
Okay, एक और question, because I have to go to the airport. Can the government be blamed for not rubbing Trump's ego?
I think it was politically undoable. Sure, you can blame them. Should they have gone and, maybe massaged his ego? Maybe. But was it politically feasible to do that? I think not.
No, the government should not be doing it. It's ridiculous. What, tomorrow, you want to become a vassal state of someone?
Look,
Like, you don't do
see,
that.
here's the thing. I follow Cardinal Richelieu's dictum. Somebody once asked him, have you self-respect? So Cardinal Richelieu served under Louis the 13th and Louis the 14th as Prime Minister of France. Well, he was technically advisor to the Queen. He wasn't even advisor to the King. But he used to say, self-respect is a luxury I cannot afford. For France, France requires me to have no self-respect. But tell me something. Is that what you want of your Prime Minister?
I don't. I think it's ridiculous.
So I do. Most Indians will say, I don't. And this comes down to personal preference.
You can't have the head of a state bowing down and sucking up to a guy who's going to go in 3 years, and then the policies will change and they will become lopsided in the country. For example, we started buying Russian oil to do a favor to America. Then we realized, ye to bada sasta hai. And now this guy comes and says, mat khareed. When you become a vassal state, you can't have a steady policy. You can't. So you don't.
Yeah.
नहीं तो अभी फिर 3 साल बाद डेमोक्रेट्स आएंगे, फिर से बोलेंगे रशिया का तेल खरीदो, फिर खरीदना शुरू करेंगे, फिर वापस कोई आएगा, बंद करो, फिर बंद करेंगे.
But see, the point is to go massage his ego so that you can continue buying Russian oil. You understand? Next.
बस और बाकी तो सब वो
Can I choose some questions?
हाँ, तू कर ले और फटाफट आंसर दे, क्योंकि भाई मेरे को एयरपोर्ट जाना है.
ठीक है. Do a session with Professor Pradyut Das. Okay. Do we really have international allies? Boss, we don't want to have allies. Understand? We practice what we preach. We went on telling Ukraine, don't get into NATO, don't get into NATO. Why did we ourselves stay out of it? You think us joining an alliance isn't a red flag to China? We practice what we preach. We don't want allies. We want people who help us during a time of war. Look, you can debate the pros and cons of it. Personally, I'm an alliance person. You don't want to be an alliance person, that's it. See, this is a choice. This is not a bad choice, by the way. This is not something I criticize India for. It is something where I disagree with Indian policy, but I don't criticize it. Because there are different cost benefit. Maybe the person making the decision has a different calculus to doing it. Okay. Next big sensation. Has anyone noticed Abhijit, despite being anti-Babu, is utterly Babu, like Kide Nikalna and everything? Manishankar higher levels of pessimism. I am telling you what is going wrong so that you can correct it. Do you understand? I
Okay,
am anti-babu. The kide are all the babus.
let me explain, because I think you never explained this bit. He goes overboard. So see, for some of us, you guys, there is no other way to say it. Some of us, the government watches. We have to criticize the government because the opposition of this country sucks.
Yeah.
We are literally doing that job, which is why there
But
is a balance.
understand, we are criticizing to make life easier.
Yeah.
We are babus criticized to make life tougher and sink government objectives. We want less babudom. Our criticism is the babudom. And it isn't to sink a policy, it is how to make a better policy. So you use everything to fix every policy. You fix education policy, you fix all the policies. We want to fix. They don't want to fix, they want stasis. That is why they criticize. To understand, intent भी अलग होता है, intent भी कुछ नाम का चीज होता है. And please don't compare me to Manishankar Iyer. That's a माँ बाप की गाली. And I will give you माँ बाप की गाली if you call me that ever again.
अभी सब लोग तुझे मणिशंकर अय्यर बोलेंगे.
कमीने साले. Haters can abuse HAL in coping, but HAL is involving private sector. I'm sorry, Kapil, they are not. The way in which they've cut out the private sector in all of this, HAL should have never been assembling these. Had you given this entire program to private industry, by this time you would have already had about 20-30 squadrons of Tejas already operational. Okay, so please don't give me this shit. ये एम न्यूज लॉन्ड्री से क्या पंगा लेते रहता है?
अरे आगे बढ़ो, उसके बारे में बात मत करो.
अरे नहीं, बहुत मजे का चीज है.
कमीने, इसके लिए मैं तेरे को कमेंट्स नहीं दिखाता हूँ.
देख, जब भी मैं जब भी मैं बवासीर देखता हूँ ना, मेरे को बवासीर का खुजली करने में बहुत ये होता है. So, especially when I see a cockeyed gargoyle, I mean, imagine if you're so crazy that you led to your own brother's suicide. Boss, come along. Dr. Ankit Shah was very correct. Oh man, Dr. Ankit Shah, bro, why don't you get Dr. Ankit Shah on your program, bro?
Yeah,
I
don't even know the guy. Why so much in my life?
Boss, he's Abhijit Banerjee and Amartya Sen combined. Why don't you get this? You are a low-level bania little kalua who doesn't understand true genius when you see it. Dr. Ankit Shah is Abhijit Banerjee and Amartya Sen and Esther Duflo combined. Please go follow him. He is the savant of Indian economics. And he was very correct. India, China, Russia relationship growing since BRICS 24. The trio will bring America to its knees. Rupee will go up. 100% Bali. I agree with you completely. Please tell this Kalua to invite Ankit Shah on his program. See, he's a low-class bania. He doesn't understand true, great economics and economists like Dr. Ankit Shah when he sees them. A deal with US like AUKUS. Boss, AUKUS is falling apart. I hope you realize AUKUS is falling apart very, very badly. The Americans have told the Australians they can't get the nuclear submarine. There is no capacity for building the Australian nuclear submarines because American yards are full of orders. It is falling apart very, very rapidly. The Australians are admitting now that they first made a mistake going in for a conventional Barracuda. They should have just gone in for the French model as it was then and there. They soured their relationship with France. Now America has basically kicked them in the balls. Okay. So yeah, sub-base crystalline tech silkworm. I've been advocating the French nuclear model for a very long time because the French nuclear model, the submarine, unlike all other submarines which need to be cut open, the French one just has a hatch which opens. You refuel. It's not that simple. It's a more complicated process, but let's just say that's how it happens. And what they use in their military reactors is the same as what they use in their civilian reactors. So that is a question of fine-tuning your isotopes. I hope we go in for the same model for our nuclear submarines as well. I doubt very much we will, because as long as it's with the babus, it will always be, it will not be out of the box solutions. It will be out of the rectum solutions. Why not removing constitutional protection for IS babus? Very good. There are no constitutional protections. Do you know this? They can literally be written out. The Prime Minister just needs to sign a paper and write it out. Change of rules. That's it. You can change rules. There are no constitutional protections. why it's not being done, please go ask them. I'm not the PM. No, I don't work at the PMO. I hope we go the China way on this indigenous app situation. Yes. Abhijit says he's going to doubt Modi of Ram Mandir, but black pilled about everything. Now he's going to abuse me unimaginatively. No, boss. I said I'm not going to abuse Modi. I didn't say I wasn't going to criticize policy. Please understand that. पहले मैं मोदी को गाली देता था, मैं मोदी को गाली नहीं देता हूं राम मंदिर के बाद. But if you think we are not going to criticize, sorry, screw you. But Kapil, you generally ना you have a low understanding generally. ये तेरा दूसरा सवाल है. पहले भी तूने कोई सवाल पूछा था पिछले पॉडकास्ट में. बहुत लो IQ होते हैं तेरे सवाल बेटा. पहले थोड़ा अंग्रेजी सीख ले या हिंदी सीख ले जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ साफ साफ. At least listen to what I'm saying. ठीक है. US can't ban apps in India. This attitude will kill us. US absolutely can ban apps in India. 100% they can. International laws apply till they don't. And they certainly don't apply to a country like America. Okay. Shame on BCCI, yes. जाके अगले BCCI गेम के पे जाके अपना गोबर लेके मारो इन लोगों पे. Competent leader for yeah, so the INC, very right, Abhijit fanboy. INC actually knows how to handle the bureaucracy very well. And yeah, Himanta Biswa Sarma is the classic case. Himanta Biswa is building institutions that will outlast Himanta Biswa Sarma. There is a certain great bureaucratic competence that INC leaders bring, which the BJP does not have. The problem is the INC can't win elections. Their political messaging sucks. And when they get into power, their rapaciousness takes the better of them, and their supinity to the family.
Bhai sahab, they are going to destroy the country. INC. They
actually are. After 370 abrogation, why do we need a separate JK organization? Bhai, that is a ruse. It's a JK organization is actually the corruption bill. Between AIM and IAF chief, I believe IAF chief. Boss, I am not, again, it's Kapil G8707, typical. Like I said right at the beginning, I don't give a flying fuck about your beliefs. The only thing that concerns me is proof. Okay? Photo dikhao ya chut jao. Why are they targeting ORF?
Well, it doesn't matter. We should not give air to this rumor.
Go see Sanjay Dikshit's post. 2 minutes on Russia, Ukraine. Yaar, nahi. AIM and Manishankar Iyer even share. ये Chandramouli Sri Ram को बहुत पीटूंगा मैं. बहुत पीटूंगा. ये देखो ये अयंगार है. He's part of the international Iyengar conspiracy who's come here to defame our ears.
Yes. Chalo, we'll go now. तूने सारे question answer कर दिए. Very good. खुश रहे. And in my opinion, this is my final verdict. I think PM Modi was dead serious. Even if we are, I think his 2014 speech, he was able to achieve 65 to 70% of the targets he had set out in that. I think that's a good result for a prime minister. Even if he is able to manage 65 to 70% of what he said in the next 10 years, I think we are in for a good time as a country. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we'll go on that. Baki abhi, everybody on Twitter, go and tell Abhijit that he is Manishankar Iyer.
Fuck you. जो भी मेरे को मणिशंकर ये बोलेगा मैं तुम्हारे को ब्लॉक कर दूंगा ट्विटर पे, याद रखना. सच में मैं ब्लॉक कर दूंगा. So to decide if it is worth getting blocked or not.
ये cheating है. ये cheating. This is not allowed.
This is allowed. This is totally allowed. 100% allowed.
This is against the rules of the game. How do you troll you?
This is totally the rules of the game.
This is the.
वो कमीने ने कितना घटिया मेरे तूने बोला सब गंदा इमेज डालो वो 2 कौड़ी की खालिस्तानी ट्रोल और मेरा, and they put animation of me smooching that horrible creature, that centipede from Canada.
That was so good. I loved it. I loved it. Sab log. Chalo, we'll wrap up, guys. Take care. Tada, bye bye.